My official analysis for UFC 314. We're going to start with the main event first, and that's going to be Alexander Volkanovski going up against Diego Lopez. Now, this is for the featherweight vacated belt. Ilia Topuria vacated and is going up to 155, leaving that belt open for whoever wins. Alexander Volkanovski is currently 36 years old and has a record of 26 wins and 4 losses. He is 5'6" and has a reach of 71.5 inches. Now, he's primarily a striker, but has shown extremely good ability to combine his wrestling and striking skills. He has a background in Greco-Roman fighting style, and in his past fights, he has shown to be able to have great speed for the weight class and is able to drown his opponents with strikes and has massive fight IQ. Now, in his last 5 fights, we know that in February last year, he lost to Ilia Topuria via knockout in the second round, and in October of 2023, he lost to Islam Makhachev via TKO in round 1 head kick. There was only 4 months between those 2 KO losses. We got to hope that his chin's recovered in the past few months. Now, July 8th, he won against Yair Rodriguez via third round TKO victory. February 11th of 2023, he lost to Islam Makhachev via unanimous decision. And we saw July of 2022, he won against Max Holloway via another unanimous decision. His opponent, Diego Lopez, is currently 30 years old and has a record of 26 wins and 6 losses. He has a height of 5 foot and 11 inches and has a reach of 72.5 inches. So he's going to have the advantage when it comes to the reach and the height here. Now, Lopez is mainly a fighting style Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's a black belt in it. He has a very strong grappling game and is amazing at finding and attacking submissions regardless of who he's going up against. He has an extremely aggressive striking game and has very high amount of physical strength. All this allows him to just control anyone he's fighting against and makes him an extremely well-rounded fighter. His last 5 fights have been one against Brian Ortega, where he won via unanimous decision. He also beat Dan Ige on short notice via unanimous decision. He beat Sadiq Youssef via round 1 knockout. Won against Pat Sabatini, a known wrestler, against him in round 1 via knockout, and he won against Gavin Tucker via submission in round 1 as well. My analysis: Volkanovski is bringing a ton of wealth, experience, and a well-rounded skill set into this fight. This includes not only exceptional striking and wrestling, but where his tactical intelligence and resilience have been extremely high key assets in his past few fights. He has been able to use those throughout his career to dominate against his opponents. Now it's really just a strength or a mental test of his durability and his chin due to age. He is coming off those 2 consecutive knockout losses to Islam and Ilia Topuria, and it's been over a year of inactivity. This has led me to question whether he's going to have both ring rust or his durability, if it's going to be anywhere near the same as it used to be. On the other hand, we got Diego Lopez, who's been constantly fighting and is riding a 5-fight win streak, 4 in the UFC. And in these fights, he showcased his ability to go the full distance, both striking and submission wins of knockouts. He has a height and reach advantage again, which is going to pose extreme challenges for Volkanovski, making Volk have to go into the clinch. If Lopez can utilize his jab, it'll allow him to maintain distance, but he's also going to really shove into Volk and try to clip him in the chin using that aggressive striking. His aggressive style, again, is going to make him a very formidable opponent. My prediction is that it's a classic experience versus momentum opponent. If Volkanovski can leverage his wrestling and control the pace and neutralize Lopez's striking, as well as defend against the submissions, he stands a strong chance of reclaiming the title. Controversially, if Lopez is able to dictate the range, utilize the reach, and if he sees any vulnerabilities in that chin and he chins him, he might just go for the submission. We have to look at Lopez's performance in the past and Volkanovski's layoff. I believe that Diego Lopez does have a slight edge heading into this contest, so give me Diego Lopez. Next, we got Michael Chandler versus Paddy the Baddy Pimblett for the co-main event. Michael Chandler is 38 years old with a record of 23 wins and 8 losses. He's 5'8" and has a reach of 71 inches. He's a very explosive striker, especially with the power in his right hand. In addition, he has a very strong wrestling base, which is what he started with. Throughout his career, he's faced top-tier competition in both Bellator and the UFC. His last 5 fights have been his loss to His last 5 fights have been one, he lost to Charles Oliveira via unanimous decision. Before that, he lost to, I'm pretty sure it was Dustin Poirier. Why don't I have this written down? Sorry. So his last 5 fights have been one, he lost to Charles Oliveira most recently via unanimous decision. Okay, yeah. Next, he lost to Dustin Poirier via a round 3 rear naked choke. He did beat Tony Ferguson via a round 2 front head kick, and he was considered to be losing that fight. And then he lost to Justin Gaethje via unanimous decision. And then again, lost to Charles Oliveira the first time they fought via round 2 strikes and knockout. Now, Paddy Pimblett is 30 years old, so younger by like 5 or 6 years, by 8 years. And he has a record of 22 wins and 3 losses. He's 5'10" and has a reach of 73 inches, so he's taller and has a farther reach than Michael Chandler. We know that Pimblett is a very dynamic grappler and a second-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He combines an aggressive submission game and submission hunting with unorthodox striking, which he's been known to use to secure takedowns and knockdowns and then go straight for the submission. In his last 5 fights, we've seen him beat King Green via a round 1 triangle choke. He beat Tony Ferguson via unanimous decision. He won against Jared Gordon via a split decision. A lot of people thought he lost. He beat Jordan Levitt via a rear naked submission choke. And then he also won against Rodrigo Vargas via a rear naked submission. Analysis is that striking and power, Michael Chandler is going to possess the better knockout power and has demonstrated his ability to finish the fight while striking and standing up. Pimblett has shown to be pretty good on the feet, but nowhere near as good as Michael Chandler. He's mostly needing his grappling or his striking to set up grappling exchanges. When it comes to grappling submissions, we know that Michael Chandler is going to have a very strong base strength level. That's a lot better than Pimblett's, but Paddy's strength is going to be in his grappling, which he has a notable number of submission victories. Chandler has a great wrestling background. Hopefully that allows him to take on the takedowns and defend against the submissions. When it comes to experience and competition level, Michael Chandler has faced the better competition throughout his career via unanimous or UFC and Bellator. But Pimblett is still on the rise, and he hasn't faced the greatest that the UFC has to offer him. Really, it was a washed Tony Ferguson, an older King Green, and now Michael Chandler is really his biggest test. Momentum and activity. We know Michael Chandler's been on a bit of a loss streak. He is constantly motivating himself, and he believes to have unlimited motivation. Whereas Paddy Pimblett is currently on a winning streak and is showcasing that he is getting better on the striking and on the feet. My prediction is that Michael Chandler is going to win this via a knockout. I think his power and experience is going to be too much for Paddy Pimblett, but if this fight goes past round 1 and possibly reaches round 3 because it is a 5-round fight, then Paddy Pimblett will win via unanimous decision or a submission. Give me a submission for Paddy Pimblett via round 2 for my official prediction. Next, we've got Yair Rodriguez going up against Pitbull Patricio or Ferreira. Yair Rodriguez is 32 years old with a record of 20 wins, 6 losses, and 1 no contest. He's 5'11" and has a reach of 71 inches. He's a freestyle striker that's known for his unorthodox striking, kicks, fluid movement. He's in a range of spinning attacks, wild striking again. He does a lot of different things and really is only vulnerable to his wrestling. Since his loss to Brian Ortega, he's been training with the welterweight champion Belal Muhammad in order to improve his takedown defense. And so he could possibly be a lot better on the ground by now. We wouldn't know. His last 5 fights for Yair have been a loss to Brian Ortega via submission, a loss to Alexander Volkanovski, a win over Josh Emmett via a submission, a win over Brian Ortega via TKO, and a loss to Max Holloway to unanimous decision. For Pitbull Patricio Ferreira, he has a record of 36 wins and 7 losses. He's 37 years old and stands 5'5" with a reach of 65 inches, so less of a reach advantage. He's a disadvantage, and he's a lot shorter than Yair. He's a compact striker with knockout power and a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's extreme knockout power and is capable of finding a submission from any position. He's shown the ability to go out the full distance of either 15 minutes or 25 because he's done title fights in Bellator. also knocking an opponent out or submitting them. His last 5 have been one win over Jeremy Kennedy via TKO, a loss to Chiro Suzuki via knockout, a loss to Sergio Pettis via unanimous decision, a win over Kleber Kyoki Earps via unanimous decision, and a win over Adam Borix via decision, unanimous. But it seems that really his win over Jeremy Kennedy is his last win that he got a knockout win. So he's been grinding decision wins the last few fights he's had, which leads me to believe he might not have that drive in him anymore. Now, striking Rodriguez's height and reach advantage is going to be a big issue for Pitbull Pereira. He also shows a diverse arsenal when it comes to kicking and striking. Pitbull's compact frame is going to make his power punching a constant threat if he can close the distance, meaning Rodriguez needs to stay the fuck away from Pitbull and just win by points. Grappling, Rodriguez has shown some submission skills, but nowhere near Pitbull's ability to submit anyone. Pitbull's black belt and BJJ is going to be a big help for him if he can take Yair Rodriguez to the ground, and I think he might submit him. When it comes to experience, we know Pitbull has a lot more experience, both in just in this Bellator, being in 3 division, almost 2 division weight title defenders. He's been a champion in 2 divisions. He's gone up against some of the best that Bellator has offered, but we know that Rodriguez has faced the top 5 in the UFC multiple times. I do believe that already balances the experience scales, and he's younger. My prediction is that it's a classic striker versus power puncher scenario. If Rodriguez can maintain the distance and win by points, he should be able to win, especially if he utilizes his kicking game. He should be able to outpoint Pitbull Patricio by 3 rounds, but if Pitbull can get in the distance or close the distance and get in the clinch, his power and experience will make him a very big and dangerous underdog. Give me Yair Rodriguez via unanimous decision, just by points. Next, we've got, in the final prediction, we've got Bryce Mitchell going up against Jean Silva. Now, Jean Silva is 28 years old, and he has a record of 15 wins and 2 losses. He is 5'7" with a reach of 69 inches. We know that he's a very powerful striker with a Muay Thai and kickboxing background and base. He's extremely powerful striking in hands and is very creative with his stand-up game, including elbows, knees, and is just overall very creative with his striking. He's currently on a 12-fight winning streak, so he's coming in with momentum. Has a 4-0 undefeated record in the UFC. His last 5 fights have been a win over... Why is this not on here? Clearly I have outdated information right here, but Jean Silva's last 5 wins have been 1, a round 1 knockout against Melsik Bagdasaryan, a round 3 dock stoppage due to a cut win against Drew Dober, a round 2 victory over Charles Jourdain, and then he beat Weston Wilson via a round 1 knockout in the at a UFC Fight Night. So we know he's got extreme knockout power and is able to, if he can't knock you out, which he couldn't against Drew Dober. He broke both his hands against Drew Dober's head. He ended up winning via cutting him up with elbows. So those are his biggest weapons, I think. Now, Bryce Mitchell is 30 with a record of 17 wins and 2 losses. He's 5'10" and has a reach of 70 inches. Mitchell is a grappling specialist with a strong wrestling background and a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's secured 9 of his 17 wins via submission. He's shown to be able to go the full 15 minutes like he did against Ilia Topuria, but his loss against Josh Emmett was in the first round, and a lot of people say it was the worst knockout they had ever seen, so I'm assuming that his chin is completely shattered and ruined. His last few fights, even against Kron Gracie, he got rocked pretty badly. Now, his last 5 fights was most recently he won against Kron Gracie via a 3rd round knockout that really was pretty weak regarding knockouts. Lost to Josh Emmett via 1st round knockout. A win against Edson Barbosa via a unanimous decision or a knockout. Let me check. Yeah, he beat Dan Ige via unanimous decision. Lost to Ilia Topuria via round 2 arm triangle. And then he beat Edson Barbosa via a unanimous decision. The analysis for this is that Silva's striking is going to be his primary weapon. With a high finishing rate and the ability to end fights quickly, he needs to just simply avoid the takedowns and drop elbows on Mitchell. Mitchell is improving on his feet, primarily using his striking mostly to set up a grappling exchange. When it comes to grappling, we know that Bryce Mitchell is going to have an extreme advantage here. Majority of his victories, again, are in submissions, and if he can get past Jean Silva's takedown defense, it will be tested against his pursuit for the submission. When it comes to experience and competition level, Bryce Mitchell will have an advantage because he's faced the higher ranked opponents and has gone up against them for 15 minutes. He has more experience in the UFC compared to Silva. Even though Silva is undefeated, he's still proving himself against the lower competition. So we'll see. This is a real big test in the top 15. My prediction is that this fight, again, is a classic striker versus submission and grappler scenario. If Silva can avoid the takedowns and keep the fight standing, his power and striking will allow him to control the entire fight. If Mitchell is able to get a takedown and he can control Silva on the ground, he's going to win via submission victory or unanimous decision. I'm going to go with Jean Silva via a second round knockout. I think that if Bryce Mitchell goes for a takedown, Jean Silva throws his knee up, throws an elbow, and he can catch him just like Yair did against TKZ and just knock him out. That's my official UFC 314 analysis. Let me know if you guys will be choosing my predictions and what you want to see next regarding the pay-per-views.